Thank you for watching Chittarupa Yoga and Fitness. I'm Laura Wilson, and I teach you ways to modify exercises and yoga poses so that no matter what we've got going on in our body from day to day, we can still find a way to work out. Today we're going to look at improving our flexibility with some deep stretches. I am focused on doing this on the floor. However, if you've got a chair you would rather do that in, make sure it's not going to slide out from under you, and we can do these stretches from the chair. If we're looking to increase in flexibility, then we want to get our body warm. So there are two ways to do that. One is a nice vigorous workout, and I've included some warm-ups and cardio workouts videos in the description below this video. But the other one is to use a warm room, or if you're out on your deck in the summer, it can be warm there. That way we can really focus on getting deep into these stretches. We're going to hold them for a little bit longer than you may be used to. So if your body isn't as warm, make sure not to go as deep, as far into the fold. And I'll cue you, as usual, about how to listen to your own body as far as getting into these stretches. We are going to be stretching out our entire body, every major muscle group and joint. So get ready for that. And while you are, no equipment needed. Just make sure that you subscribe to the channel by clicking the little icon in the corner. And if you like the video, give it that thumbs up for me, let me know. And then in the comments, let me know which of these stretches helped you feel the most released. Let's just begin sitting tall, starting with an assessment of our body and just kind of noticing what we're feeling in the different parts of it. So there are usually places that we need to stretch more than others, but it's always good to hit everything when we get the chance. And let's just begin with some deep diaphragmatic breaths. So imagine your diaphragm, it sits underneath your lungs and above your belly. As we inhale, it releases and presses down. That's why our belly flares out. And then as we exhale, it presses up onto our lungs, squeezing our air out. So bring your awareness to that very deep core muscle there. Inhale, let it press down. Exhale, press it up. And really visualize pressing down and pressing up on the exhale. So we're going to keep doing that. If you get dizzy, go back to regular breathing. And let's go ahead and release to regular breathing and just begin to take ourselves forward and back. Again, ideally we want to be in a warm room or coming off of a vigorous workout, but we never want to do any stretching of our body truly cold. So let's go ahead and take our legs out wide, and we'll take this side to side. And while we're doing this, we can also assess how we're feeling through our core muscles, up through our shoulders here. Already feeling some things in the hips. And let's bring this up and take it to a circle. So we do a lot of walking, running. Let's reverse our circles. Then our hips get kind of tight. We sit a lot. You notice how we get this folding in at these hip creases or hip flexors. So we're going to look at stretching those out today. Let's come back here. And let's go ahead and come up onto our knees for just a moment. I'm going to throw in a little extra core work, like I said. Let's just hinge back and come up. Hinge back till we feel everything engaged, come up. That way we're getting it nice and warm. And let's come here for just a little cat and cow. And movement at our shoulders. So we're actually going to begin here, kind of like child's pose. We're going to sit our bottom back onto one leg while stretching the other one out behind us. So just do a lunge if you're standing doing this at the chair. Just take this to a lunge. But if we can bring this here, we can feel this hip starting to really open across the hip creases or those hip flexors. So take a few deep breaths here. The goal is to get to where we breathe deeply, and then maybe we can get a little deeper, coming up a little higher in this case. But we're listening to our own body. If we have blocks would be great to use here underneath our hands. It's kind of hard to demonstrate that without actual blocks, but so just let that hip release. And let's come back up and we'll switch sides. And we may know already started noticing that one side feels a little different than the other. Totally normal. That's one of the reasons I offer modifications to exercises, so that we can find ways that we can still work our body, no matter what may be going on today. So just take those deep breaths, maybe get a little deeper at some point. We're going to come back onto our bottoms in just a moment. Let's bring that back in. So having a seat. So we've hit the hip flexors. Let's get a little to the outer hip now. Crossing one leg over the other, let's hinge forward. And we'll do this in stages. Again, if your body is still kind of cold, if you're just coming straight into this, staying here might be the best option. But I am in a little bit warmer of a room. I don't have the AC on. So I'm going to bend this bottom leg and come a little further into this. And like I said, we're going to hold these a little bit longer, so hopefully our body is warmer. And I'm going to go ahead and show a third option, is Cradle the Baby. We want to take our foot into the crook of our elbow. A lot of people don't get this, they hold it with their hand. Crook of your elbow, other hand around the knee, or arm around the knee. And then we want to make sure we're not rounding our back, but sitting up nice and tall as we do this. And in any of these variations, we can actually add a little warmth by rocking here or here. I personally prefer to stay still, focused on that stretch. So taking those deep breaths, I'm just going to kind of toggle between the two variations here. Or there's three variations. And feel free, if any of these stretches are speaking to you and you're feeling really good, the longer you hold them, the longer that you can get your muscles, the more release that you can get. Let's release, and hence the best increases in flexibility. So if you want to pause the video, stay in a particular stretch a little bit longer, hit play again when you're ready to move on, you can do that as well. So let's take it to the other leg, starting here. Already feeling some differences on this side, but I think I can go to that next level at least. And we're all finding whatever works for our own body today, because day to day can be different. And of course, if we want to look at that Cradle the Baby, we want to take our foot into the crease of our elbow, other arm around our knee, sitting up tall. Whew, this actually feels better. A little bit of a rock here. We do tend to be, left-footed or right-footed, right-handed, left-handed. So we do probably have differences when we get to our shoulders and hips. Again, I'm just going to toggle between the different variations so that you remember what they are. Pause the video if you like this. Let's make our way to those hamstrings, which we've kind of already gotten to. We're going to hinge forward. So keeping our feet flexed is going to get into the bottom of our calves here, our gastrocnemius. It could be that we feel more comfortable taking our legs a little wider here and hinging forward. So just finding the variation that speaks to us. Ooh, this one is getting way up towards the sit bones. If you feel your sit bones, a stretch at your hamstring muscles at the sit bones, ooh, this one gives me a little better sensation there. So separating our feet may be a good thing. I'm going to go back here for a sec. Ooh, feeling it there now too. But just a little bit more here. And then just thinking about rounding our back for a moment. We don't do this very often here, but this is to stretch out, separate our shoulder blades, reaching our hands out toward the wall or resting on our legs. But we're going to get more stretch between our shoulder blades and we have our hands up. Tucking our chin slightly. Now let's open up, bring our legs to easy seat, and we're going to press our elbows back and our heart forward. So what we just experienced is what we get during our day. We tend to round forward. So every so often it is very good for us to open up here. And let's take our hands to the back of our head. That way we can lift our neck a little bit, elbows wide. Feeling that opening across the entire front of our body. And let's release from here, taking our hands just behind us. We'll use our fingertips today to press open in our heart. So I'm showing this to you from the side so you can see what it looks like, because we're going to add it on to the hip stretch that we're about to do. So this time our shoulder blades are squeezing together, our heart is opening. See if we can separate our shoulders from each other a little more. And again, hold this longer if you want to. We are going to do it again here in just a moment. Let's bring the soles of our feet together. And we may find that we want to just flap our butterfly wings. Sometimes we call this butterfly pose. Let's begin with a hinge this time, keeping our heart forward. Now we're feeling that stretch to our inner thighs. So we've kind of gone all the way around our hip at this point, gotten down into our calves. Now let's sit this up, taking our fingers behind us like we did before, finding that opening across our heart. What we'll find is that our hips press forward, and that gives us a different sensation of opening across the front of our pelvis. Let's keep our gaze straight ahead. Remembering to breathe deeply. And let's release from here, bringing this forward again. Heart forward, facing forward. And we'll sit this up. Let's take one leg out to the side. So this is going to give us a little bit more of that hamstring and calf stretch. Let's reach our knee side hand up, reaching for the ceiling, sliding out over our legs. So we'll start here, pushing this hip into the floor, that sit bone into the floor. And as we hold this and breathe, we might get deeper, walking this hand down further, even coming out over. So we get a stretch to the whole side of our body. A little bit of a stretch to this leg as well. Now let's come back up and just do a little twist toward that bent leg. We want to keep our spine tall, head reaching to the ceiling. And release. Let's take it to the other side. And just notice how this feels, reaching our arm to the ceiling first, sliding this hand over, pushing this sit bone into the floor, We can get a nice big side stretch right here if we're doing all of those things. Take it deeper by sliding down, taking it over, just kind of playing around with it, seeing what feels right for our own body today. We know that it's right if we can breathe. As long as we can breathe, we got it. Now let's bring this up, both legs out this time, and let's bring our heart forward. Again, we want to hinge at our hips here. We are going to look at a pose that is going to open up the hip flexors again. But let's go ahead and sit up and take it to some shoulder. Reaching this arm up, pressing back, and we can press from the front or the back. And let's release from there, circling our wrist, taking this to the other side. Remembering the options. And just paying attention to what we're feeling at each shoulder. Again, each one can feel different. Especially if you've engaged in any sports like baseball, softball, golf. You tend to do everything from one side. Speaking of that, I think we forgot the twist. So let's get that twist in here real quick. And release. So, as promised, we're going to look at opening up along our hip flexors again. The way we're going to do it this time can be a strain on our knee, so be careful with this. I'm going to turn this way first. So, what we're going to do is, I tell you what, let's do it this way. That way we don't have to worry as much about our knee. Let's bring our knees together and drop them over to one side. And we can stay high here or come down lower. And what we're going to do is either reach down, grab this foot, and draw our knee back, or we can just let that leg rest and push it back as far as we can on the floor. Both ways are going to get that hip open. Find a way to breathe here. We can even add a little side stretch if we're here. Remember, we can also be here. And hold this as long as you want to. And let's come back and we'll take this to the other side. So again, we can keep it high or low, grab onto our foot and draw back, or just press our leg back. I'm kind of feeling this variation today. And again, if we're here, we can open up a little more. Just some options. Breathing, of course. Stay there longer if you want to. When you're ready, let's come back out. And we'll just have a regular seat. We've stretched out everything at this point except our arms and our neck. So let's take this forward. We're going to look at a way that we can stretch out A lot of work that we do, especially if you do a lot of planks and other exercises, our hands tend to get stretched, our wrists tend to get stretched this way. So we're going to take one hand out and press forward and just use 2 fingers up on the actual back of the hand, not on your fingers or the knuckles, up on your hand, and then just guide this stretch. And we can release, wiggle our fingers. Let's take to this side, and again, just 2 fingers up on the back of our hand. And we're pushing forward through our wrist, making sure that we can still wiggle our fingers. We're not pressing too hard. Gotta make sure I got our fingers out here. And release. So we tend to hold a lot of tension at our neck and shoulders. So let's see if we can release some of that. So we'll start by just a little, this is good for warming up through there too. And then we're going to push our shoulders down to the floor, drop our head away. And keep drawing that one shoulder down toward the floor. See if we can bend our head a little more. And let's bring this up again, pushing both shoulders down. Let's drop our head away. Really focused on dropping that one shoulder further. Drawing the ear away. Checking in with our breath. And let's bring this back to the center. And again, just a little assessment of our body. How is it feeling here? Hopefully everything's feeling refreshed, lengthened, a little more flexible than it was before. Let's take a couple of deep breaths, just opening up here and releasing. Inhale, open. And again, I want to thank you for joining me, watching the entire video. Awesome. If you liked it, do give it that thumbs up. Let me know which of these stretches spoke to you the most today. And please do ask your friends to subscribe to the channel as well. All right? I will see you next time.